Did any of you grow up as a teen in the 90s? Do you remember the MC Hammer pants, bubblegum jeans, and Doc Martens? And our hair. We had some good waves going on, with high bangs and lots of hairspray. Mullets were stylish for boys for a little bit, and every sweater had a turtleneck underneath it. White Men Can't Jump, Basic Instinct, and Wayne's World were just a couple of popular movies in the 90s. Microsoft announced Windows 3.1, upgrading Windows 3.0, which I didn't even have a sweet clue about computers back then until we started to learn a little tiny bit about them in junior high school. But even in high school, computer class was optional and nobody had a computer. Laptops and cell phones? Not a single one to be found. We were still using rotary phones sometimes. I even had one. If you were a teen girl in 1992, chances are you were watching Beverly Hills 90210 and you either loved Dylan or Brandon. Saved by the Bell was just wrapping up in 1992. Other popular shows at the time were Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Doogie Howser, MD. Hit songs included End of the Road by Boyz II Men and Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. The day we are going back to was April 20th, 1992, and the number one song on that day was Jump by Criss Cross. Many teens still hitchhiked in the 90s. I did it. Stupid, yeah, I know, but we didn't really think of the dangers that much back then. In 1992, when 17-year-old Cindy Holliday hitchhiked home from visiting a friend, I doubt she realized until it was too late the danger that she had walked into. Her story is the story of nightmares, and I'm sure there are a lot of you out there, like me, who can bring yourself back to those carefree days. Maybe you even hitchhiked, and think that maybe, like me, man, that could have been me. Cindy Laura Holliday was born on December 6, 1975 to Mom Jackie. She was the youngest of 4 sisters. She and her family lived in Waverley, Ontario, Canada, which was a small, knit, quiet community tucked between Highway 93 and County Road 23, just about 35 kilometers from Barrie, Ontario. Cindy had a large circle of childhood friends, and she was very close to her family. In 2017, a series of videos were released called Simcoe County Case Files. They were released by the Ontario Provincial Police, or OPP, and Barrie Police Services. The videos were posted on YouTube to generate tips that would help resolve Cindy's case and others like hers. During one of the videos, Jackie, Cindy's mom, described Cindy. She said she was a little bit more spoiled than the others because she was the youngest. Cindy's hobbies included hockey, which she started playing at the tender age of 6, and she was an active child, according to her mom. Cindy had a daredevil mentality, she could be stubborn, and she liked to push her sister's buttons as a teenager. Despite having dropped out of high school, Cindy had made plans to return to school that spring, and she hoped to become a social worker one day. She was always hugging and saying, "I love you." She was very caring. She liked to babysit, and she was always hanging out with her friends in the park. And like a lot of teens in the 90s, police say Cindy was a frequent hitchhiker, often traveling between her home in Waverley to M Vale, Midland, and Barrie. At about 5:30 p.m. on April 20th, 1992, which was Easter Monday that year, Cindy Holliday left Barrie after visiting a friend at a halfway house to hitchhike the 35 kilometers home to Waverley along Highway 27. I have read online chatter that says she was visiting her boyfriend, but no official reports say this, so take that with a grain of salt. But Cindy never made it home that evening. The next day, her mom, Jackie, reported her youngest daughter missing. In one of the Simcoe County Case Files videos, Jackie says that she was in the kitchen on the day that Cindy vanished, when she experienced an odd feeling, quote, "a complete loss," and she believes that was the exact moment that Cindy had died. As the police investigated Cindy's disappearance and as the days turned to weeks, the fear that foul play had been involved became a painful reality. For the next few months, Jackie kept the door open with a generator in front of it while she slept, so she could hear if anyone came in the house, in the hopes that Cindy would return. Tragically, things would take a dark turn when a series of clues turned up over the course of the next 2 months. Then, witnesses reported last seeing Cindy getting into a light-colored Chrysler LeBaron or a Dodge Diplomat by the Hasty Market in front of the Strip Plaza on Highway 27 at Findlay Mill Road in the village of Midhurst between 5:30 and 6:30 the day she disappeared. It soon became apparent that Cindy had been murdered, but just who was involved is still a mystery that persists to today, nearly 30 years later. On Sunday, May 3rd, 1992, only 2 weeks after Cindy had vanished, a man was out collecting bottles and found her wallet in a wooded area off the old Second Line or Concession Road 2 in Vesper Township, near Horseshoe Valley Road. Her wallet was found in a desolate wooded area. The OPP then proceeded to do a major search using track dogs, but they failed to find anything else. 2 weeks later, on May 16th, a mushroom picker found Cindy's red, white, and blue jacket that she had been wearing the last time she left home, farther north on Concession Road 2. Her coat was found in the bush along the road. Investigators felt that Cindy's coat may have been planted after their initial thorough police search because, when they searched, they had found nothing. There was little hope for Cindy's return when barely 2 months after she vanished, on June 16th, a man walking his dog discovered a skull in a reforestation area on the north side of Horseshoe Valley Road, about 2 kilometers northwest of where Cindy's coat had been found. The spring weather and animals had destroyed most of the body. All that was left was a skull. Tragically, on June 19, 1992, forensic tests confirmed what everyone had feared. The remains belonged to Cindy Halliday, but her time of death could not be determined. Waverly and surrounding towns were now on edge. And by Sunday, June 21st, more of Cindy's belongings, such as a watch, a ring, and her shoes, were discovered near where her remains had been located. Investigators at the time also allegedly suggested that something that should have been with her belongings wasn't there, leading them to speculate that the killer may have kept a trophy from the killing. Obviously, this trophy has never been publicly announced. Only the police, possibly family, and the person or persons responsible for Cindy's murder know what this item is. And later, reportedly, Major Case Manager Detective Inspector Matt Watson of the OPP Criminal Investigation Branch would not confirm whether this actually happened in Cindy's case, but he did say it is something that is known to have happened in predatory-type homicides. On June 24, 1992, Cindy's family and friends gathered for her memorial service. Then, during a ground search on July 5th of 1992, more of Cindy's clothing, bone, and hair were found. I thought it was very interesting that by September of 1992, an OPP behavioral profiler was brought in to examine the unsolved homicide. The unknown perpetrator was profiled as likely male, in his 20s or 30s, and he may have known Cindy. The profiler suspected that the killer would have exhibited severe physical and emotional signs leading to changes in his personality and demeanor after the homicide. Something for those of us to think about who think they may know something. Did you know someone with a connection to Cindy, even the faintest connection, who was then acting very strange and out of character in the immediate aftermath of her disappearance? By October of 1992, forensic tests determined that Cindy was stabbed to death. By January of the following year, 1993, Barry Advance and its sister's papers in the region offered a $10,000 reward for information in Cindy's case. And by this point, police had interviewed more than 400 people. And as far as I can gather, no persons of interest have ever been publicly announced. Did police have any persons of interest? We do not know. That is something I assume they kept very close to the vest to protect the investigation. Just a few days later, on January 15th of 1993, Sanford Outdoor Advertising in Barrie created several Who Killed Cindy billboards to advertise the reward and need for information. By February of 1993, Valpak of Central Ontario, with the help of Sprint Printing, joined the hunt for Cindy's killer by distributing 32,000 inserts through its business. Then, in mid-February of 1993, probably the most shocking crimes to shake Canada were front and center when Paul Bernardo was arrested. And if you don't know who Paul Bernardo is, well, long story short, the crimes of serial rapist and murderer Paul Bernardo and his wife Carla Homolka, particularly the 1990 sex slayings of teenagers Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French, were among the most horrifying and controversial in Canadian history. Paul Bernardo is also known as the Scarborough Rapist. rapist. Anyway, at the time, police from many jurisdictions were interested in talking to Bernardo about other cases involving young women. As police worked on Cindy's case, there was a great deal of speculation that somehow Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka may have been involved. Kristen French, one of Paul Bernardo's victims, was abducted while leaving school in St. Catharines just 4 days before Cindy was reported missing. But ultimately, it was determined that there was no link to Cindy. Reportedly, quote, through investigative means and cooperation with the Green Ribbon Task Force that was involved in the investigation of Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka, we are not pursuing any investigative avenues involving them in relation to Cindy Holliday's case. And as the weeks continued to turn into months, by March of 1993, new witnesses came forward. Remember, up until this point, Cindy had simply vanished. But this new witness information said that they saw a teen fitting Cindy's description accept a ride in a 1979 to 1981 light-colored Chrysler LeBaron or Dodge Diplomat from the Hasty Market in Midhurst. Police released this car information, which created a flurry of tips by the end of March 1993, but still no answers. By April 30th of 1993, an entomologist with the Royal Ontario Museum was asked to examine Cindy's skull to determine a time of death. But ultimately all police can determine from the skull is that Cindy died in April or May of 1992 as a result of foul play. No time of death has ever been confirmed. God, I hope it was the day she vanished, because otherwise that means that she was held, and that's just too hard to think about. By May of 1993, Cindy's remains were released to her family for burial. Now fast forward to April 16th of 2006. The OPP announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to arrest in Cindy's case. But still, no answers came. In September of 2006, Court TV aired a segment on Cindy Holliday as part of its Crime Files cold case. According to Detective Inspector Matt Watson of the OPP, Cindy's case is still active. Every 10 years, it is reviewed by investigators, allowing them to examine it with fresh eyes and possibly take advantage of new technology. In 2006, some items were re-examined and new DNA technology was applied, but still no answers. 10 years later, in 2016, an investigator with the OPP in Central Region was assigned to the case and has had it as part of their caseload ever since. At the time, it was reported that police were likely to look at some more of the items again and take advantage of newer advances in technology since 2006. Yet again, still no answers. Detective Watson did report that sometimes when there is a flood of information in the beginning of an investigation, it is possible that something is overlooked. Quote, sometimes when you're looking at a case 20 years after the fact, you've got the luxury of time and hindsight. Therefore, the analysis of historical evidence, including cross-referencing witness statements to find patterns or discrepancies, is important because this basic detective work could lead to revelations that weren't initially apparent. However, despite the hundreds of interviews, over 500 tipsters have come forward throughout the years, and thousands of hours of investigation, we still do not know who killed Cindy Holliday. But police say they are committed that the evidence in this case will continue to be evaluated on a continual basis and in relation to advances in forensic testing. Police have also used other technologies such as the computer software known as PowerCase and the Violent Crime Linkage System that compares linkages in all major cases. Detective Watson said, quote, if these cases were easy to solve, they would have been solved at the time. I know in this case the investigators at the time pulled out all the stops. It was a very thorough investigation and they spent quite a bit of time and resources on it. As for Cindy's mom, Jackie, she told the Hamilton Spectator in 2017, on the 25th anniversary of Cindy's disappearance, that she keeps busy. She keeps busy with family and friends, busy with her 3 living children, 7 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandsons. That year, she said she would spend that Easter weekend trying to keep her mind occupied. She said she might have a drink in Cindy's memory, quote, because that was Cindy, she liked to party. She also said, how will Cindy's killer mark the 25th anniversary of her death? Maybe this person will sit down to a nice family dinner and continue to hide a haunting secret. Jackie wants this person to know that she hasn't forgotten. Cindy's friends and family haven't forgotten. And the residents of Barrie and area haven't forgotten. To you, the murderer among us, Jackie makes this plea, quote, please just let us know what happened. Why? Were you someone she knew or not? Jackie also said in one of the Simcoe County videos that she wants to know why. What did she, meaning Cindy, do? And why did the murderer or murderers put her clothing and body in different areas? We all know that a lot of cold cases are being solved today by using new technology, particularly genetic genealogy. I hope that this is an avenue that can be applied to Cindy's case. It's long overdue that the monster who took this sweet teenage girl before she had a chance to live her life is caught and punished. At the very least, Cindy's family deserves answers. Like always, somebody knows something, and it is long overdue to come forward. Any information, even if you believe it is insignificant, you should come forward because that could be the missing clue to spur the investigation forward. If you do have any information about Cindy Holliday, please contact Case Files Hotline at 1-844-677-5030. Or you can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS or 8477. You can also email the Simcoe County Case Files at simcoecountycasefiles@opp.ca. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this video. I truly do appreciate all of your support, and please stay safe out there.